So, I'm sat in the blissful sun to bring you guys some not so good news about something I've been told by a very senior officer, and something that is also very true. Now, nothing I'm going to say here is made up, because there is a recording of this 25-minute conversation I had with this officer on the evening of the little Limitless link up I had the other weekend. Now, subsequently after conversation, and after the experience of the evening, I decided that I'm no longer going to be doing any link-ups over the summer. I only had 4 anyway. It was just too much stress and it wasn't enjoyable. I've had 9 months of being very used to attending meets and collecting content like that, so almost going back to doing meets and running them again was going back in the opposite direction. Now anyway, out of that conversation, what came was not good. The news that was told to me is not positive. It's not great for the car scene in Wiltshire, Somerset and the AVON area. Now that is an area covering kind of as down as far as Western, as up as far as sort of Thornbury, and as far across as you know, Swindon and places like that. So it's a big area. Now, like I'm saying, I'm just gonna reiterate what this officer has told me, because he's told me, and not the masses, and I feel like people need to know. So as we know, the police and car enthusiast relationship is jaded, and it is not one at the moment that is at all very positive. Now, going into this, as you know, I have very little support of the police in regards to how they treat us as car enthusiasts and what they're doing in the car scene. So this is not a sort of a police propaganda video. I don't really like the police, but what I'm saying is this needs to be communicated for everyone to kind of respond efficiently to protect themselves and those in the groups that they run. Now, I made the first mistake of not getting the officer's name and badge number, so I do apologise about that. But in all fairness, do you know what? The chap is actually a very nice guy. Now, I could be in some trouble hosting a meet, as can anyone else. And if they really want to take you through court and take you through the process, they could stick something on you, and there is a possibility of that. So be aware, car club owners, event runners, if you are caught, because you know me, I don't hide anything, it's all, you know, it's all obvious who's doing what, but you know, when I was hosting that meet, I was going to be liable again, which puts me back where I was, you know, only 9 months ago, 10 months ago, when I was running my old meets page, and it doesn't want to be where I'm at. So what I'm saying is, if you're running meets, I'd be very sure to keep that very discreet, because the police will go for you, and I'm not saying this lightly, they will. They've gone for me, and there's many other people I know that have been targeted by the police as organisers of events. It's obvious to the police that if they can target and, you know, almost imprison, arrest or scare owners of clubs, that the meets will stop. So that is the primary goal there with them. Now the thing is, it drags on further than that, and that's where the risk becomes then individual for everyone that's at and attending these meets. So not only am I saying that the owners should keep it very discreet as to who they are and what club they run, but everyone else needs to be careful as well. Now, there's some injunctions that the police are trying to bring in. Now, unfortunately, these have been caused by all of us. Well, not everyone, I'm wrong. But all of us that have hosted or been part of a ASBO meet, which has caused issues to the public, which is the majority of all meets. So anyone that's partaken, we've had some sort of role in this. But what's pushed it over the edge in the past few months is that, or continuously over the past few months, unfortunately, don't want to mention it, but unfortunately, like always, it seems to be around Beyond City car meets. Now, unfortunately, they've gained such a reputation with this officer that is in charge of being responsible for this new initiative they're trying to bring in, that he has no other choice but to feel it's necessary for the police to not be a light touch anymore. Now, if you didn't know, over the sort of 9 past previous months, there's been a lot of incidents. There's always incidents at all meets, you know, don't get me wrong, but there's been instances at Beyond City meets that have been unacceptable. Now, this officer has dealt with the stabbing, whether there was, whatever, we don't really care, but has dealt with the sort of stabbing accident issue that they had all that time back, and he's dealt with a variety of other issues that have been corresponding with the Beyond City events. Now, this officer also is the guy that had to go to George Lewis's house and tell the family of the death of those two guys. So he's been following and been involved with the car scene, but Beyond City more specifically, over the past year at least. Now, what this means is basically Beyond City did 3 meets over the past few weekends. And the reason why this has all sort of begun is because they did 3 meets up on the Downs. Now, one of those meets was sort of a mix-up between clubs, and then subsequently the following 2 weeks were a smaller meet. But they've been on the Downs 3 times. Now, it's a slap in the face because, you know, the guy running it should know better that the Downs is something you should only use very rarely as a place to go. It's held very highly by Bristol lovers, Bristol, residents. And the problem is, by going there repetitively, it's going to cause issues. Now, it's not just the grass. Now, the grass isn't an issue. You know, if you're a kind of a Karen, a grass enthusiast, and grow up sort of thing, grass grows. But the problem is that there's been benches that have been damaged and there's litter that's been left. Now, that causes a detrimental effect to everyone who uses the Downs. And actually, it is a little bit irresponsible. So the problem is, by doing that in those 3 weeks, the police have said this is enough now. The problem with doing it on the Downs, unlike other places, is a public place, as all places are, but it's a public place that's very fairly highly held by individuals, but at the same time it's visited a lot and it's a very, very publicly used area. So on the industrial estate out of the way where it's hidden, it's not really an issue, but bringing it right to the forefront of Bristol is an issue, you know, and by doing that 3 times has caused big problems online. And the problem is, when the public know, it goes through to the police, and the police, you know, then it gets passed down through the police, through the ranks. And unfortunately, this guy's obviously getting it in the neck because there's been multiple times where this has happened now. So it's only given him one choice, and that is to come down hard on the area of Avon and Somerset, as well as moving into Wiltshire. Now, this guy listed off the top of my head a few main clubs, big clubs, that he feels are causing the biggest problems. And he mentioned those clubs, you know, and asked me for information that I wasn't happy to digress about anyway. But here's the thing, here's the juicy bit on the bone here. Here's the stuff that's really going to affect us. Now, because of these actions and things that have happened in the past, and you know what, like I said to you, it is everyone involved. Now, I'm really impartial here, you know. Don't overthink that I'm always targeting Beyond City, because I'm not. I am very impartial now. I have said that all of us, to an extent, or the majority of us that attend these meets, are to blame. We're all partly responsible. The people that drift, the people that skid, and we are. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just what people do when they come to the meets, and we enjoy the meets. So I'm not hating on that at all. I'm just saying, you know, across the board, it's a joint effort, you know, over years of meets that have happened in Bristol, you know, and now is the turning point that this officer is going to be putting in. Now, this officer does mean business, because he's already told me that he watches my content as well as other people's content, and he is out there trying to catch people for offences committed at meets and so forth. He's been responsible for setting drones up at meets that people haven't even realised are there, like on the Downs, where they've caught an absolute ton of people that will be getting done in the past few weeks. So I'm sorry to say, guys, you know, and it shouldn't be happening, but it is. And the thing is, I'm not here to dispute whether what the police is doing is right or wrong, but I'm just here to let you guys know what is actually happening in the local area. Now, my advice before I get into that is that Bristol needs to be kept very clear. Now, I see that the weekend just gone, or the weekend just recently, that Beyond City didn't do a meet in Bristol. Now, I don't know whether that's because that's anything to do with this, but they didn't do it here. And hopefully they will stay that way, because Bristol is not a place to be doing meets. Now, the police have got a unit that are now involved with police events. Now, let's say we've got a meet on the weekend. Here's the first thing the police are going to be doing to ramp up what they do. Now, I mean, they do it everywhere now, so it's not really anything new. But the police now have got a task force set every weekend. They track these meets online anyway before the weekends, but they have a task force ready to set undercover cars up inside a car meet to target them. Now, I'm going to say this once. I know a lot of you are going to be outraged by listening to a lot of this and pissed off and don't think it's right. Now, I'm not telling you that what the police is doing is right here, because I don't believe it is. And what they're doing is a very hard attempt to completely eradicate meets, and I don't think that's right. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about what's going on. So be aware, no matter who you are that hosts a meet, whether you're known to the police or you're not, the police will eventually through reports, whatever they do, CCTV cameras, etc. They will finally get hold of where you are, and they will follow you for the evening. So unless you're doing a static meet, the police, you know, are going to be on it all together, all night, no matter where you go. You cannot escape them, and they have got unmarked cars set ready at every meet now to follow. This is my experience of the evening as well that I saw. So that's the first thing. Now the second thing is whether this is true or not. You know, not all officers are honest, but I get with this guy, there's a very seriousness and you know, a very genuine seriousness in his tone and the way he speaks. Now he's saying that it's either going to happen, or I think it has already happened or has been put in place. There's now an injunction in Western where if there is a meet or a gathering of more than 2 or 3 people, those people will be written down, noted down, and asked to move. If they don't leave immediately, they can be arrested. Now, if they then meet again, those same cars or those same people with other people, etc., in the same area, they will get their cars seized or potentially arrested again, depending on what the conduct of that conversation goes. Now, that's not good. That's not good that it's starting to turn to Birmingham already, where they're going to be starting to shut down whole areas. And I mean, if you go up to Wiltshire Way, where Wiltshire Car Scene have been doing meets, they have been doing that to Wiltshire Car Scene. They have been literally shutting all these car parks off, either physically or with like orders that come into effect on weekends where they can no longer use them. So that's the first thing. Now, as we move further up into Bristol, the police are going with this approach. Contact them and work with them in a static format. They'll provide locations where you can do that, and they'll police it. Now, I know a lot of you nowadays don't like that sort of style of meet, and that's not going to work. And do you know what? Most of the time people have lost such faith in the police when it comes to the car scene, they ain't going to work with them anyway. But that's what they want. They want the future of meets in Bristol to be like that. Now, the thing is, if we carry on, I'm saying we collectively, if we carry on attending meets, partaking in meets and hosting meets in Bristol, it's going to get to a point where, in a minute, it's going to turn to Birmingham. Now, if you don't know about Birmingham, I'm going to tell you in a moment, but here's the thing. The officers already said to me that this is legislation that they are trying to bring in. And I'm not bullshitting here. They're seriously thinking about bringing in this. Now, what this means is, this doesn't apply to meets. What it first means is you can't share, you can't publicise or attend meets. Meets can't happen. If you do, you'll be told to leave. And again, if you do this again, or you're caught again, you will be arrested. Or worse, hello buddy. Got a dog here with me. So that's the seriousness of it, and it is serious. Now, the thing is, that won't just apply to Bristol, that'll be the whole of Avon and Somerset, so that's a big area. Now, for meets themselves, that's the end of those, and sort of the end of the car scene in Bristol as it goes. But second to that, the problem as well is that all of those local people that just meet up innocently are going to be targeted by the same brush. So what it will basically mean, if this brings us into Bristol, this might be, and this is not cruising, this is different. This is literally, this is basically 2 or more people gathering around one car is seen as an offence, as committing an offence. Now, if that does come into Bristol because of these meets and this being caused, this means that basically you cannot meet your mates anymore. It means you're going to be harassed. And it means if any of you, any of your local meet spots, cribs, places like that, you've got no chance of meeting there no more. And it's almost like you're going to have to meet them discreetly, because it's basically going to be illegal to gather more than 2 modified vehicles together. Now that is some serious shit. Now, a lot of you are going to say, nah, he's chatting crap, it's not going to happen. But here's the thing, this officer has already been very fundamental in what his plans are to me. And I feel like this guy, he's not a soft touch. At the end of the day, he wants, his sort of standpoint is, it's more the antisocial behaviour that affects the public. Now, this guy is and does mean business, and he's not to be reckoned with. He knows the law, he's a very sensible guy, but he is reasonable at the same time. And the thing is, he will watch this video. I know he watches my videos, he's told me, and I hope he sees that I'm being very fair about the situation. Even though I'm not really pro-police in this situation, I'm just trying to communicate to everyone that hopefully people will listen and at least leave Bristol alone for the foreseeable, because it's causing a problem. Now, I'm not on the police's side here, I'm not scaremongering, I've just been honest with what the officers told me, and what realistically I can see is actually going to happen. So what I'm saying is, if we continue as it goes, as rubbish as it is, if this continues, Bristol is going to be a place where you're no longer going to be able to meet anyone at all. You know, and this does realistically come down to a lot of ourselves, but primarily, unfortunately, has been caused by Beyond City in the past 9 months and the stuff that they have been allowing to happen at their meets. And let's just say there's other clubs as well that have been in Bristol that are partly to blame for that as well. But what I'm saying is Beyond City have started this issue very recently, or very immediately. This has just begun over the past few weeks, since having those meets up at the Downs. So that is some serious shit. Now, what the officers made clear to me is also working with Wiltshire Police. So that means, we can't just go and pop over to Swindon or pop over to Wiltshire, because they're working together. Now, for example, on the evening the other night when the meet was on, Wiltshire Police had already contacted AVON and Somerset Police with the regs of the vehicles heading down to the meet. They were then subsequently pulled over and done for a variety of reasons, or targeted because they're known in Swindon and they've come to Bristol, you know, to do what they want to do, and they're being tracked. So these two forces are working together hand in hand, and you know, it's not going to just be forgotten about. So what to take with this message is to take it rationally and think about it. Because if we continue to do these sort of meets in Bristol and the surrounding areas, if this legislation gets brought in, it's going to ruin the car scene in this area, but also ruin people's lives. Now, it might seem funny, it might seem silly, you might think I'm being ridiculous. I'm really not. I'm being very honest. I have got the video on record, so it's not even like this guy is being, you know, is lying or scaremongering. He's very honest in what he's saying, and it will come into force. And it may already be too late with the recent things that have happened for it to be thought about. This may just come into law and become an actual conjunction, which is going to have a serious detrimental effect on everyone. So what I'm saying is, what the officer reiterated to me was that basically, if these meets are taken out of AVON and Somerset and out of Wiltshire, hello buddy, hello, how are you?
Sorry.
That's alright, that's alright. Yeah, so as we're saying, if this continues to go on, it's going to be an issue for everyone, and this is a large area and a large scale, this is going on. So I think we need to listen to this video wisely and adapt the situation to what suits and what we can do to not have this come into Bristol. Now, this hasn't happened yet, and it may never happen, and we hope it doesn't, but this is just a warning, because if it does happen, it's going to be awful. But now, what I was saying before that, before I was distracted, was this officer has said to me very clearly that if these meets are no longer hosted in AVON and Somerset and in Wiltshire, that there won't be a problem. Now, obviously, moving into a new police force, you know, and inevitably they will have to respond to these meets in another way. But what he's saying is if the meets are held to what he expects them to be, or they're not in his constituency or policing area, then he'll be happy with that. So it's not an end to the car scene in Bristol, and I'm sure people are just going to carry on like normal anyway, regardless of what I say. But I'm just advising that maybe for now people look at some alternative locations and places to go for now, just to bring the heat down from Bristol. You know, and maybe if they are doing meets in Bristol, just be aware that the police will be on it to shut down and disturb the meet all evening, no matter where you go as well. So it's just a word of warning about the actual situation that could be coming into effect. And you know, this also applies to Swindon as well, and I think Swindon are more nearer to actually bringing in some sort of injunction than Bristol is anyway. But at the end of the day, whether you like it or you love it, you know, what we do is what we do. You know, it's not for everyone, and equally, you know, the police are sick of it. But you know, at the end of the day, there's not many places we can go to enjoy it anymore. And the thing is, no matter how much I sit here and say don't do it, and no matter how much the police are going to say don't do it, there's always going to be people that are going to want to do it and carry it on. So at the end of the day, we just got to be respectful of what the police want and maybe follow to that. And there's a lot of you that say, oh, fuck the police. we ain't doing it. But you know, I've said my piece, and that is where it stands. And it is shit. I don't agree with it at all. But this is how the police are going to be at meets in the local area from now on, and you're going to see that. So the advice is, from myself and the police, take it to other areas. If you are going to do it in Bristol, think about where you're doing it. Unfortunately, wherever you go in Bristol, it's going to cause issues anyway. It's going to cause public nuisance, but try and do it more responsibly. Stay away from the downs. Yeah, going on the grass is great fun, but actually it is going to fuck the car scene up over here in Bristol if you keep using the downs. And actually, the problem is as well with the downs is people are actually going to become more susceptible to being caught on camera and being done for driving offences, for committing offences. So that's the message. Whether or not in 3 or 6, 12 months time this will be any different, or whether anything will happen at all, whether it's all sort of false promises and, you know, and empty threats, not threats, but, you know, empty conversation I had with him that isn't really actually going to happen, it's just more of a sort of scare tactic, then we don't know. But you've been informed, and that is my honest, short video for you about the Bristol car scene, and quite frankly, what could be the end of it if we're not, you know, a little bit sensible and adapt to what is going on. Because at the end of the day, the police, unfortunately, in the most instances, will always win, no matter how that is. And it's only a matter of time till they will make things come in very severely. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I don't want to give the shit news, but I have now, and it's been done. And maybe in 3 to 6 months time we'll do another video on it, and potentially I'll try so I can get into contact with the officer and maybe do a video with him, or at least take notes from him and talk about more about what they're looking to bring into Bristol and the surrounding area, so people can kind of understand how real this shit is, and that we do need to adapt and overcome. So beyond city, stay out of Bristol. Not that you will, but please do, because sooner or later, as you are the guys really mainly doing the main stuff here, and most instances are coming from you guys, you're going to make it, or make Bristol unusable soon, as well as other clubs as well. Just try and use other areas, or just don't listen to me at all. But it might all end in disaster. So that is the video done here. I'll still be attending meets like I always do. You know me, that's never going to change. But that is it for me sort of hosting or being involved in meets. You know, I did a few, done 2 now, just this summer, and it's not worth it. At the end of the day, I don't want that officer after me either. It just is not worth it at all, you know. And like you said to me, going along and attending these meets within you know, reasonable grounds, there's no issues, you know. So I'll continue to do that, and you know, I respect his advice of no longer attending meets, but unfortunately it's not going to happen, and I will continue to do so to collect the content and enjoy the evenings I have. So that is it done. Please comment and put your input below. It'd be good to see what you think. I'm sure it'll be a lot of comments and hateful comments towards the police like always, but you know, if they bring this in, shit, and we don't want it in Bristol. So we'll catch up with you in maybe the next 3 or 6 months and see if anything's changed then. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll catch up with you guys again this week with another police video. So here's another thing, Cheddar Gorge, an important subject. Beautiful place for meets, an amazing place to go and visit, chilled vibe, lovely place to get photos of your car, drive up and down, lovely road. That's something that's been going on for way too long, unbelievably long in fact, and that's something again that they're looking to do something about. Now this obviously does fall under the AVON and SOMERSET postcode band, and what they plan to do, and this is again from the officer's mouth, is to install cameras. Now these cameras will do 2 things. They'll obviously record antisocial behaviour, but equally they are thinking of setting up a noise camera system, which will mean that basically anyone driving up the gorge or down the gorge with excessive volume from the exhaust, music, etc. will be sent a fine, and will be fined multiple times for that. And it does mean as well that everyone that goes up there and drifts and does whatever they do will inevitably be caught as well on video. So it's going to get to a point where again Cheddar's going to be unusable. So again, it's probably advisable that you stay away or don't use cheddar for big meat locations for the moment, because you know we're soon going to lose that as well. It's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to eat meat anywhere in a local area, nowhere at all, where you're not going to have police harassing you, asking you what you're doing. Is there a car meet on, without some trigger happy police coming down there and saying, right, leave, we've got your details, if I see you again you're going to get done, you're going to get arrested, you're going to get fined, you know. And it's just unbelievable. It's really mad. And do you know what, I think part of this comes down to, people don't like it, but part of this is COVID's fault. Now what I mean by that is if you didn't know, the police are bringing in a lot of new laws. They say it's to help, you know, help cyclists, help. It's not helping anyone, yeah? It's not, all right? You know, it's not. It's not benefiting people, and that's my opinion, but it's not. These laws don't benefit people. All this about on your phone, you know, screwing you over more. I can see that's more of a fair point, and to be fair, do you know what? Actually, some of the cyclist stuff is fair, but what I'm trying to say is, a lot of these new rules are being brought in with another agenda. And again, the police are coming on these meets more and more now, more than ever, for this fixed agenda of claiming back tax money for the government from the COVID furlough scheme. You're thinking that's mad, but that's genuinely what they're doing.